me and help me get through the hour, keep me on my toes, and keep me straight and flying smooth, right?
The news you need to know. Oh,
Excellent.
that's not ready yet for that.
No.
Okay.
And no.
Hello, folks.
Never mind. So basically, I want to get a commercial out of the way first. Mom's Day is coming up. It's May 13th. It falls on a Sunday this year. Sunday, May 13th. And you want to make sure you take her somewhere very nice. You got that puzzled look. You don't think it's a Monday?
It's always on a Sunday.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Well, what a coincidence then. Yeah. They got it right this year, too. So you want to make sure you take Mom somewhere special. And to do that, you're going to have to get reservations because everybody else want to take their mothers somewhere special. So you ought to take your mom or your wife, who is a mom, and take her to Burroughs and Burroughs Roadhouse in Brighton. And the Mother's Day brunch starts at 9:30 a.m. To 12:30, and then 11 a.m., 12:30 p.m., and 2 p.m., and then dinner seatings at 3:30 p.m. and 5 p.m. Give a call, and you can call them at, I'm looking for the phone number right now, 810-227-6000. They're at 5311 Brighton Road in Brighton. You know, the place is a destination. It's almost a historical landmark, and yet it's modern. You're not going to visit some dumpy old place.
You don't have to sweep the cobwebs and the dust off the chair.
Well, and there's no crackers or peanut shells on the floor either, for that matter. You know, so take Mom somewhere really nice this Mother's Day, May 13th, Burroughs Roadhouse. So, any questions about it, go to burroughs-roadhouse.com. So there we go.
It's a great. I love Burroughs, by the way. I've been there many times. I love it.
Wiggling the wrong mouse here. We have a call. Is Ken from Livonia running for office? We put out a call for people who are running for office to call, so let's see what Ken's running for. Ken?
Oh, I'm not running for office, but I did want to make a political comment. Wanted to comment about Muslims and politics. And now, for those who don't know, when we use the word Muslim, this refers to a belief system. This has nothing to do with someone's racial background or national origin, but a belief system. And I want to use a comparison to make my point. Now, Adolf Hitler was a mass murderer, and his teachings were extremely dangerous and harmful. Muhammad, the founder of Islam, was also a mass murderer and a butcher, and wanted to exterminate anyone who disagreed with him. And I would say that his teachings were also extremely harmful to people like myself and anyone who would disagree with his teachings. So I want to make it perfectly clear that if anyone identifies themselves as a follower of Muhammad, a follower of Islam, I would never vote for them in any way for political office. I think that would be a serious mistake, and I think this is a reality that people need to be aware of, that Islam is a harmful belief system. And one thing that also people need to be aware of, a very fundamental fact of Islam is that they must promote Sharia law, Islamic law, upon the society that they occupy. Even the most peaceful Muslim will still promote the Islamic law within the land that they occupy. And this must be promoted and taught to people. Now you can comment.
Is that how you really feel? I mean, you haven't changed your views much over the last number of years. I've heard you
that's one of the things I really like about Ken is he stands by his beliefs. I don't have to agree with everything he believes, but he stands by his belief. Oh, you're still on. I'm going to tell you, the thing I appreciate about you, Ken, is that whether I agree with you on everything or not, even on the points I don't agree with you on, is that you do stand by your beliefs, and people need to really stand for what they believe in. If they're not willing to make a stand, they have nothing to live for. That's all I wanted to say.
I've read myself the Quran cover to cover. I've also studied the history of Islam, going back to Muhammad, and all I've seen clearly for 1,400 years is a mass murder of people who refuse to comply with the teachings of Islam, and there's no one I'm willing to give any opportunity as far as representing me in any kind of political office who identifies themselves as a follower of Islam, a follower of Muhammad. Because, like I said, that to me that is absolutely no different than someone says, "Oh yeah, I support Adolf Hitler. I read Mein Kampf, his famous book," and it just, to me, it makes no sense why you would want to support someone like this.
All right.
Well, what is that rule? There's a law on the internet that, when a conversation goes so far and then all of a sudden Hitler is brought up as a comparison. Well, there's a rule about that, a reference. But I understand totally how you feel about Mohammedanism. But I will reiterate, there are Muslims that I know that I feel perfectly safe to be around. I don't think they're sleeper agents.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Those people who say, "Well, I'm a Muslim," and you say you're comfortable with, well, I would say that they are obviously not true Muslims. They are not practicing Muslims. They are not Muslims.
I can live with that.
Because my point is, you cannot follow Muhammad. You cannot follow the teachings of the Quran and be peace-loving, tolerant.
Okay.
And one last thing, it's so important for you to understand, they are encouraged to lie to you, to mislead you. They can appear as secular as possible while living in a non-Muslim country.
We understand that,
and
Ken.
So be very careful.
Okay, we understand that. Rick, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, just on this whole thing is, this is, to me, a very wonderful testimony. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share this testimony. I was online, and I was involved with a young man who went to school at Cambridge. He declared himself to me as a Muslim that enjoyed a good bacon cheeseburger. Now, just so you know, he just broke every dietary law in the world if you're Muslim by making that statement. And he called me up we chatted online, and he had a couple whose son had been just murdered, 10-year-old boy, by ISIS in northern Iraq. And they hung this boy up. They stripped him naked. They physically emasculated him to the bone, and left his bloody body hanging there. And they took pictures and they put it up on the internet. That's how the parents found out. This child was supposed to be with the aunt coming over to Turkey. My friend lived in Turkey. He contacted me and he says, "I have a Christian family here." He told me the story, what was going on. And he says, "I cannot find a pastor in our area, a Christian pastor. Can you counsel with them?" And so I started going through a counseling session with this wonderful woman and her husband. And her biggest concern was, how do I forgive these people that did this to my son? I need to forgive them. How do I do that?
This is a Muslim asking how?
No, this was a Christian woman that was in his household.
All right.
He is translating for me. As a Muslim, he's translating everything that she's saying. And he's just in awe of how she wants to find forgiveness for these people that brutalized her son. And through time and me counseling and him translating, they found her a small local home church, because that part of Turkey, Christians were not too well accepted. All right, so they found a small little home church, and they got them going there. And in the meantime, they kept counseling with me, and my friend came to the Lord.
Excellent. And see, that's why I want to. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, there's a little bit more to the story. From that time, he went over and was with a small group of people that would go over to Iraq and smuggle more Christians back. And they refused to take guns, because I told him the story about the 5 missionaries in South America that didn't take guns because they said that they're ready to meet the Lord, but who they were Talk to, we're not. Right.
Sort of like beyond the
right. The same missionaries.
Missionaries in Ecuador who didn't shoot back at the natives.
Right.
Who killed them.
They didn't even take guns. So they didn't take guns because they realized that they were ready to meet the Lord, and they were smuggling people back and forth. That small little home church outgrew. They went out and started evangelizing in this small village. And that small little home church grew to almost 1,000 strong. They had to rent a building. And the first thing they did was they made a big cross out of scrap wood and nailed it to the top of the building to let everyone know that Christ had arrived to that village. This all started by a Muslim.
And that's why I don't want to alienate Muslims. I want to be able to talk to them. I understand the truth of what Ken is saying, but at the same time, I don't want to.
On the flip side, now we have to see a contrast here. We had the person like him, like as Ken would say, he wasn't a practicing Muslim. He was a bacon cheese loving. He was a secular Muslim because he lived in the area, right?
Yeah, nominal.
But he in no way followed the teachings of Muhammad. But then you have, on contrast, you have ISIS, and you have the Brotherhood and the Muslim Brotherhood, and they're not good people.
Ken, thanks for calling in.
Can I make one other quick observation?
Make it quick. I got another call.
Well, there again, it's so important to keep in mind that they are encouraged to lie to you, deceive you, mislead you in every way. They can eat bacon and eggs in front of you. I'm just saying is when it comes to politics, and if I'm going to vote for somebody, I would never take a chance.
Right.
I don't want to vote for a Muslim. I don't want to vote for a Muslim. I want to vote for a Christian gentleman.
Who's a Muslim?
Yeah, that gentleman. Right. That gentleman I was talking to, he because if you switch to Muslim, you take on a Muslim name. He took on the Christian name Cephas after.
Whoa.
Yeah. Cephas, or we'd say Cephas, Sir Paul.
Peter, Rocky.
Right. So he took on the name Cephas, and the reason he took on that name is he says, I tend to open my mouth when I shouldn't either. This same gentleman, the end of this testimony, he found a wife in this church that was founded. They got married, and during the political riots in Turkey, he and his wife were killed coming out of a theater. And Miss is a dear friend in that, but... Hey.
So he wasn't a Muslim to begin with.
He didn't practice. That's what I was kind of agreeing with you. If you don't practice it, are you really truly a follower of Islam?
Well, yeah, we have what we call nominal
Muhammad
Christians
was a
also.
Butcher, and if you're not following Muhammad, then you're not a butcher.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Appreciate it. In closing, I'd like to say we have what we call nominal Christians too. They call themselves Christians, but you and I know they go to strip clubs.
Right.
So.
They believe they're willing to be hypocritical about their beliefs. Yeah. That's a whole different thing.
We have another candidate. I think we have a candidate on the line. We're going to find out about this shortly. This is interesting. All these political candidates listen to The Drift.
That's what happens when you call for them.
Derek, would you put Bob Carr on the line, please? Thank you. Bob, you there?
Yes, and I received a text a couple of days ago. You'd like me to go on, so here we are.
All righty. Thanks. So something's going on here. We have a mutual friend, Joe Leonard, and actually another friend of mine had told me that it was interesting that you weren't on the ballot yet, that you hadn't submitted your petitions last week, neither you nor Debbie Stabenow nor Penciler, and that really shocked me. And so I asked Joe Leonard on air last week, what's going on there? And he said you were probably going to file on the very last day so that you'd get some publicity out of that. And it seems like you haven't had the opportunity to file, and it's past the deadline. What's going on?
We can't say much about it. It affects several candidates. There's been real mischief. The ballot program, the petition program will never be the same, and we believe we have the right to be on the ballot and will be on the ballot. So we're continuing our campaign. However, when you're running for the Michigan United States Senate, that's way up the list of offices, and so we've been warned, I think even on your program, that there was people saying that I would not be on the ballot. We never knew exactly what they could do, and we're smarter now, and this is all going to be an interesting story we're going to be able to talk about. Meanwhile, none of the people right now are on the ballot because they have to have their petition certified, and one of the things that we have found this particular season is it's very sloppy petition people who are circulating petitions. So we'll